Hello, I will do an hi. I will do an Alex practice exam 10. So let's begin. Okay, let's start with question one. Question one says solve the following equation. Um, we have 2x minus 1 times 3x minus or equals negative 9. So I know you natural instinct would probably say FOIL out that negative one, but for those who forgot or need a kind of little bit of review. You do need a little bit of order of operation, PEMDAS, PEMDAS. So it looks like we do have a parentheses, and the good news about this parentheses is you really can't simplify this in a parentheses. Um, you cannot combine a variable and a constant, so you can't simplify, right? So we could forget about the parentheses. Do we have an exponent? No. Do we have a multiplication? Yes. The multiplication is this negative one, so FOIL this out. It's going to be negative 3x. Negative 1 times negative 3 is positive 3. And then bring down what we haven't done, so bring down this 2x. Okay, then it's all about solving equation. It's like a 1, 2. I think this is like a two-step. So what you want to do is before you move things around, check if you can collect like terms um, on both sides, right? Collect like terms. So before you get all the x's, before you get all the constants on one side, can you collect like terms? So on the left side, we have 2x negative 3x plus 3. We definitely can combine the 2x and the negative 3x, which is negative 1x, right? And then you have this plus 3 equals negative 9. Okay. And then you're going to solve for x. I mean, get all the constant on one side, so you're going to subtract 3 from both sides. So you get negative 1x equals to negative 9 and negative 3 is 10 to the negative 12. Okay. And then all you got to do is get rid of this negative 1 by dividing both sides by negative 1, right? Negative 12 over negative 1 is positive 12. Okay, so that is how you do this question. Okay, what is the volume of this cylinder? So what you do need to know is you need to know the formula for volume of a cylinder. So the volume of a cylinder is pi r squared. Double check on that because yes, the volume of a cylinder is pi r squared times h. Yep. Okay. So do we have everything we need? I believe so. We have the radius. So my radius is 8. And I believe we also have the height, which is this vertical distance, which is 20, right? So it's going to be V equals pi, and then my R is 8 square, and then H is 20. 8 squared is 64, times it by 20, and you get 64 times 20 is 1280. So it's going to be 1285. And then it's a volume, so it's going to be a centimeters cubed. Okay, so it looks like that would be letter B. Okay, question 3, find the solution of this. So you on the Alex, you definitely can use the exam. So if you put 1.5 over 3 over 100 in the calculator, you are able to use the calculator. It is going to be exactly 0.0153. This zero is a trailing, I think it's a trailing zero, but it's an optional zero. But yes, you must include the zero, right? So you don't have to put the zero if you don't want to. So don't be fooled. It is not C. It is letter B. Cool. Okay, if you want to do it the long way, this is a little fresher. So what you want to do, if you want to do the box method, so the numerator always goes inside the box, the denominator goes outside, and you always got to check, um, 100 is not the same thing as 1. You always got to check if this has a decimal. If this had a decimal, you would have to rewrite it, move the decimal, right? But we're good because this doesn't have a decimal. So all you got to do is make sure you line up this decimal. And yeah, this is 100, not 1. So how many times does 100 go into, I guess 153? Well, well, actually, you could. So how many times, if you want to go with the 1 right here, how many times 100 goes into 1? Way too big, 0, right? How many times does 100 go into 15? Too small. That's why you put an extra 0 here. And then how many times does 100 go into 153? Just once, right? Because 1 times 100 is 100, right? And then 153 minus 100 is 53. Bring down the 0. How many times 100 go into 530? About 5, right? And then subtract it by 30, and then we bring down that visible 0. And then how many times does 100 go into 13? Exactly 3. So that's going to be 0.0153. Okay, letter B. Question 4, divide 4x cubed minus 10x squared plus 8x by 2x. So, um, well, yeah, what you're doing is you're dividing every term by 2x. So you can just write it as one horizontal line, or you can divide it, well, if you really want to see the bigger picture, you can divide each term by x 2x, right? So what I mean is you could do it as 4x cubed over 2x minus 10x squared over 2x, 8x, 2x, and then 2x and 2x, right? So what is 4x cubed over 2x? Well, 4 divided by 2 is 2, and then x cubed divided by x1 is x squared. Okay, so remember when you're dividing with the same base, you technically subtract, right? So for example, x5 divided by x3, subtract the x. It's 5 minus 3, just 2. Okay, keep on going. What is negative 2 divided by negative 10 divided by 2? That is negative 5. X2 divided by x1, that's 1. And do the next term, 8x over 2x, well, the x disappears, so you're just like 4. And then the 2x over 2x is now officially 1. So what is that answer? Oh, wait. Oops. There is no 2x at the very end. I made that up. Right? That is a mistake. So it is just forget about this one. So it looks like it's going to be 2x squared minus 5x plus, yes, looks like B. 2x squared minus 5x plus 4. Question 5 says, what percent of 72 is 9? So how we do these word problems, so the word what in a word problem always means X, and then you have a percent. So what percent? Just focus on that. Well, you can write percent as two ways. You can write it as a decimal or a fraction. In this case, I'm going to write it as a fraction. So what percent is the same thing as X over 100? Of in a word problem always means multiplication. So I'm going to put parentheses to represent multiplication, 72. And then the word is always equal to, and then it's 9. So you can also rewrite this as what? Um, X times 72 is the same thing as 72x over 100 equals 9. Okay. Cross multiply, so 100 times 9 is 900. And then 1 times 72x is 72x. Solve for x, so you're going to divide this by 72. Divide this by 72. Get 900 over 72 is 4.5. So it is empty. Oh, here's a good one. So I had to think about this when I was doing this. Um, so question 6 says, what is the length of the goat? So if you look at this image very carefully, it looks like we have two triangles, right? The big triangle, the main one, I don't know, here, let me outline it. So the main one is outlined as the blue one. So this would be the main triangle, or one of the triangles. And then you have a smaller triangle, the one with this goat. I'll use red. What can you say about the blue triangle, the main triangle? What kind of triangle will this consider be? I would say it is an equilateral, equal angular or equilateral. They're the same thing, right? And how do I know it's an equilateral or equal angular? It's because of these tick marks. This has a one tick mark, and this one has a one tick mark. This has exactly one tick mark. That means is all the angles are the same. That means if all the angles are the same, all the sides are the same. So that's how I know it's an equal lateral. So if you look at this side length, this entire length is a mixture of 8 and 5, which is 10, 11, 12, 8. If you add them up, what's 8 plus 5? 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, right? So this side length of the big blue triangle is 13. But they're all the same. This side is the same, this side is the same, this side is the same because it's equilateral or equiangular. So that means that this is also 13, and then this is 13. Okay. What else? Let's look at the small triangle. In this smaller red triangle, can we say they're equiangular? I don't think so. I'm not sure. I don't think so. I don't think I don't think so because if that was true, the length of the goat would be 5. which I don't believe so. So think I believe that this is also five, but I'm not sure that this is five. I can't see how this only has one tick mark. Can't assume that this is an equilateral triangle. But that is useful. So we know that this length is 5 feet. This triangle, the blue triangle, all have a side length of 13. So what you want to do is set up some kind of ratio proportion. So how you're going to set it up is you can set it up several ways. So um you could do leg, you could do leg of bigger triangle, and then on the bottom you could do leg of the smaller triangle, the one with the goat, right? It's leg of smaller triangle. And then same thing here. You could do leg of bigger triangle, and then this would be leg of small. Small. So on this side, um, what is the length of one of the length of bigger triangle is 13, and then the length of a smaller triangle is 5. And then over here, the leg of the bigger triangle, they're all 13, so you can't get that wrong, right? And then we must have one unknown, so that the length from the goat would be the leg of the small triangle. So we'll call that x. We don't know. Okay. So you must have one unknown, otherwise this doesn't work. So then we're going to cross multiply. So it's going to be 13x equals to 5 times 13. 5 times 13 is 65. And then you have 13x. Divide this by 13. 65 divided by 13 is 5. Okay. Oh, it looks like it is 5. Okay. Yep. I believe it's going to be 5 then. Okay, so that's how you do that one. Question 7, use the multiplicative property of equality to solve the equation. So yeah, you could do this two ways. Notice you have here, you have a 2/7 x. So what you could do with the x is you can either put it on the top or in the center. It's up to you, but never on the bottom. Okay, so there's two options to what you can do. You can either cross multiply because there's only two sides. If it had three, you can no longer cross multiply, right? This 4 has an invisible one if you cross multiply, or you can also multiply by the reciprocal of 7/2. So what is the reciprocal of 2/7? It would be 7/2. So it's up to you. I like cross multiplying because I'm so used to it. So if I'm going to cross multiply, it's going to be 1 times 2x, which is 2x, equals 7 times 4 is 28. And then solve for x by dividing both sides by 2. And you get 28 divided by 2, which is 14. Okay, so yeah, that's it. If you want to do it the other way, you could just multiply it by 7/2. 7/2. So this cancels. And then it's going to be 4 times 7/2, which is 28, which is 14. There you go. Question 8 says, write an expression to represent the number of cats Jess has. Sarah has K cats, Jess has two more cats than Sarah. Okay, so we have to somehow come up with an expression. So let's just label our variables. Let's say what do we have? We have Sarah, so S equals Sarah has K cats. So we could just say S equals K. And then they say that Jess has two more cats than Sarah. So how do I write that as an equation? Jess has two more cats than Sarah, so that would be say 2 plus S, right? Write an expression for the number of cats from Jess has. So we want to know how Jess. So Jess is 2 plus S, or you could say S plus 2. But can we leave it like this? We could also not. Yeah, we can also do another substitution. We said that S, Sarah, is K, so it's really K plus 2. So I did J equals 2 plus S, and then I substitute S with K, and then I got J equals K plus 2. Question 9. If the plane is flying at 725 miles per hour, how long will it take to plane? How long will it take the plane fly 3,000 miles? Plane is flying 725. Okay, this is a distance formula. If a plane is flying at 725 miles per hour, how long will it take the plane to fly 3,000 miles? So I think it's like a distance formula. Distance equals R over T. And what do we do? How do we do this? So what are they asking? How long? So wait, is that right? Distance, I think it's actually distance equals rate times time, right? Well, yeah. Why did I say that? Yeah, distance is rate times time, and then they want to know how long, so a time. So before I plug in things in, I'm going to isolate my t variable. So if I want to get t by itself, I have to get rid of this r. Any idea? Yes, I would divide both sides by r. Do the opposite because this is multiplication. So divide both sides by r, so you get time equals distance over rate. Okay, so time equals, what is our distance? They say how long? It's specifically 3,000 miles. That was given. And then the R, they tell us a rate is distance over time, right? So they tell us it is 725 miles per hour. So what is 3,000 divided by 725? It is 4.137. Now, what happens is the miles disappears and you're left with hours because our time has to be in hours. Yeah, the miles disappear. How is this? It's a complex fraction. How did this become an hour? So it's really, if you really think about it, it's like miles over one divided by miles over hour, right? And what happens is when you're dividing fractions, you cross multiply, so it's going to be miles times hour over miles. And then the miles disappear, so that's how we get hours. So it is 4.138 hours. Okay. Find the coordinates of the unit circle corresponding to the angle 5 pi over 6. So this is something you must know in your unit circle. So you just gotta locate where 5 pi over 6 is. Okay, so I'm looking at my notes, and 5 pi over 6 is in quadrant 2. I believe it's also 150. So if you want to be really technical, 5 pi over 6 is the same thing as 150 degrees. So what you want to do is put it in here. And you need, this is something you just must know. What are the coordinates of 5 pi over 6 or 150? It has an x coordinate of negative radical 3 over 2 and a y coordinate of 1/2. Okay. Uh, that's it. If you know this, that's your answer. So it's negative radical 3 over 2 and a positive 1/2. So it looks like it's B, right? Negative radical 3 over 2, comma 1/2. Question 11. A person tosses a blueberry donut such that the height of donut is given by the quadratic equation. H of t equals negative 9.8 t squared plus 20t plus 2. How much time does dog sitting next to them have to react before the donut hits the ground when h of t equals 0? So, yeah, it's just, they're literally finding, they just want the x-intercept. So they kind of give you a hint when h of t equals 0. So h of t is y. So it's really, you're just going to set y or h of t to 0, right? And unfortunately, we can't just factor this nicely. I tried dividing both sides by negative 9.8. That'll give us some, no, it really won't. So you gotta do the quadratic formula, unfortunately. So let's figure out our A. All right, A is negative 9.8. My B is 20, and my C is 2. So T equals opposite of B. What is the opposite of B? Negative 20 plus or minus root B squared. I kind of do that in my head, right? What's 20 squared? That's like 400. Square minus 4 times AC. Now, 4 times, I can't do this in my head. 4 times A. I'll just write it out. A is negative 9.8. Yeah, C is 20. All over to A. Okay. So let's put this in the calculator. What do we get? So 11, positive 1184. And then what's 2 times negative 9.8? Negative 2.6. So you don't have to simplify this because as you can see, our choices are decimals. So we just gotta pick, I would pick the positive. I don't think the negative will work because we can't go back in time. So let's try the positive. So negative 20 plus square root of 1184 all over negative 6. I don't want to use this one because it's a negative, can't, negative 0.73, right? We can't use that. So let's use the minus. So it would be negative 20 minus square root 1184. So this does give me a positive answer. It's 2.77. Did I make a mistake? Make a mistake. Let's see. Yeah, 2.7. Uh, I think I think I'll just pick this one D. What's the closest? Yes, let's try that. Given the equation below, graph this. So we have a circle. You have x squared plus y squared minus 4x plus 6y plus 9 equals 0. What you want to do is you got to put it in standard form, meaning you want it in x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals h squared. That's what you want to do. So what you want to, okay, and then what you're going to do is, first thing I would do is move that constant to the right. So I'm going to subtract 9 from both sides. And then what I'm going to do is kind of rearrange the left side where I get all the x's on one side and all the y's. So this is what I mean. I'm going to put x squared here, negative 4x, and then I'm going to leave a little blank space. And then do the same thing for the y. So you have y squared plus 6y, and then a little blank space. You'll see why. And then 0 plus negative 9 is negative 9, right? What do I put on these two blank spaces? So this is what you put. On this part, you take half of your b, so if your b is negative 4, take half of that. That's negative 2. And then you're going to square that, which is 4. So you're going to add 4 here. You also got to do it on the right. Do the same thing here. Take half of your b, so if your b is 6, take half of that, that's 3. You're going to square that, which is 9. So we're going to add 9 there, add 9 there. Okay, so now what you have is x squared minus 4x plus 4 plus y squared plus 6y plus 9 equals to, what is 9 plus 4 and minus 9? Well, the 9's disappear, so you're left with 4. Right? Okay, then what you want to do is put this in factor form. So I know it sounds confusing, but go backwards. Put this would be factor form would be x, and then half of your b, which we said was negative 2. Close it with the parentheses and then square it. Plus the same thing here. Go backwards, so it's going to be y, and then half of your b, so 6 divided by 2 is 3. Parentheses squared equals to 4. Okay, so now you have it in standard form now. You got to find the center. The center is going to be positive 2 and negative 3. And then the radius is not 4, it's actually the square root of 4, which is 2. Okay, so which one is that? Which graph gives you a center of 2, negative and a radius 2? So is it the first one? No, the center's off. B, center's off. C, maybe. 1, 2. Oh no, center's off. D, yes, I think so. Look at the center. 1, 2, and then down 3, 1, 2, 3, and then 2 to the right. So here's our center right here. And then you go 2 to the right, 2 to the left, 2 up, 2 down. So it's going to be D. Factor 13. We have 2x squared plus 7x plus 3. So this is a special factoring technique when the a value is no longer 1. The a value is 2, so when it's not 1, you can, I use what's called the bottoms up. I think your teacher might call it the AC method. It's the same thing. Bottoms up factoring. Yeah, it's the same thing as the AC method. So what do I do for the first step bottoms up is I'm going to rewrite it as if the 2 does not exist. So it's going to be x squared plus 7x, and then you multiply the last term, the a by c, so 2 times 3 is 6. Okay, and then you can factor this nicely using simple factoring. So you could put an x here and an x there. And then is it possible what two numbers multiply 6 and one added gives it 7? It is possible. It's positive 6 and positive 1. Okay, then what you're going to do is remember the a from your here. You're only going to divide the 6 by your a and the 1 by a. So 6 divided by 2, 1 divided by 2. So 6 divided by 2 is 3. That's good. 1/2 is a fraction, and can it be reduced? No, 1/2 cannot be reduced. So what you want to do is you don't want it as a fraction. You're going to put the 2 in front of the x, so it's going to be 2x, and leave the numerator alone. Okay, so that is my answer. X plus 3, what times 2x plus 1? Letter D, right? X plus 3 times 2x plus 1. Solve the equation. Here we have the square root of 3x squared plus 4x plus 2 equals 2x plus 1. What I want to do is get rid of the radical, so you're going to square both sides. So when you square the left side, the radical disappears. We're left with 3x squared plus 4x plus 2. And then on the right, it's going to be, you're not, be careful, it's parentheses 2x plus 1 squared. Okay, so the left, there's nothing more we can do, but on the right, you got to FOIL it out. So what is 2x plus 1 squared? It is going to be 4x squared plus 2 times AB. 2x times 1 is 2, x times by 2 is 4x, and then b squared is 1. And then on the left, you have 3x squared plus 4x plus 2. Then what you want to do is get one side 0, so we're going to subtract 3x squared. Subtract 4x, subtract 2. This cancels, this cancels, this cancels, you're left with 0 equals 2. 4x squared minus 3x squared is 1x squared. The 4x cancels, and then 1 minus 2 is negative. Okay, and then if you want, you can either solve factor or factor this out. So this is going to be x plus 1, x minus 1, right? And then, oops, then the actual solve for it, you're going to get 1 and negative 1. So that is going to be C. Question 15. We have x squared plus 6x plus 9 minus x squared minus 4 all over x minus 2. So when you are subtracting, you do need an LCD, lowest common denominator. But before I find find out the lowest common denominator, I think I could factor something out and maybe something will cancel and then that'll change our LCD. So let's start with here. X squared plus 6x plus 9. What is that factor to? It would be x, and then what two numbers multiply 9 and when add gives us 6, 3 and 3. And then all over x plus 3 minus x squared minus 4 to be factored out as x plus 2 times x minus 2 all over x minus 2. Okay, and then what you want to do is cancel as much as you can. So we have an x plus 3 here minus, and the x minus 2 cancels, so you'll have x minus. Okay, so that's why I did that. It's so much easier now. Now we have no more fraction, and then all I gotta do is FOIL out this minus, so it's gonna be negative x, negative 2, and then we have this x plus 3. And the x cancels. 3 minus 2 is 1. Question 16, solve the following. So what I would do is because there's only a left and a right, I might have to I could just cross multiply. So I'm not going to get rid of the fraction yet. I'm going to just cross multiply. So multiply this thing by this thing. So it's going to be 1/2 of 2x plus 20 times x squared minus 16. Okay, and then do the same thing here. It's going to be 1/4 of x minus 4 times x squared minus 100. Okay, then I would get rid of the fraction by multiplying both sides by the LCD. So if you look at the bottom, we have a 2, and then if you have a 4, what is my LCD? 4. So we're going to multiply all sides by 4. So on the left, what's 4 times 1/2? That is 2. And then we have 2x plus 20. And over here we have x squared minus 16. And then 1/4 times 4, the 4 disappears. And then you have x minus 4 times x squared minus 1. Okay, what can I do next? I want to start canceling, so maybe let's factor, maybe something will cancel. So over here, 2x plus 20. It looks like you get to take out a 2, right? So this is going to be x plus 10. And then over here, x squared minus 16 could be factored out as x plus 4, x minus 4. And then do here is x minus 4. And then x squared minus 100 could be factored out as x plus 10, x minus 10. So, okay, now what you can do is cancel. Basically, you divide each term by whatever's the same. So what, see how, yeah, I see how we have an x minus 4 on both sides. So I'm going to divide both sides by x minus 4, x minus 4. And I also see x plus 10. plus 10. Let's see what happens. So this cancels, this cancels, this cancels, and then this cancels. So on the left, I'm gonna put it here. We have this 2 and this 2, so that's 4. And then you still have that x plus 4. And then on the right, what are you left with? X minus 10. FOIL this out. This is going to be 4x plus 16. And then this is x minus 10. Subtract x from both sides. So 4x minus 1x is 3x. 16. So negative 10. Subtract 16. This would be negative 26. Divide this by 3. And you get negative 26 over 3. Yeah. Okay, so that is lesson D. Okay, I'm gonna stop here. I'm gonna make this in 2 parts. So just come back. I'm gonna do the second part.